Hello everybody and welcome back to the Chassis Variant Series. Myself, Critical Rocket, and here we are with the CGR-1L. This is a Liao version of the Charger that was made around about the 3020 era. It was a result of the Concord of Captain, which was the failed alliance between houses Marek, Liao and Kurita in an attempt to counteract the huge power shift created by the Federated Commonwealth forming. So as such, Liao needed desperately more mechs to defend themselves against the aggressions of the, obviously the Federated Commonwealth, especially from Davian after the Fourth Succession War, and they needed replacement mechs, and the Charger, as bad as it was a good option for them. As such, you're looking at a 80-ton assault that still keeps its speed, but the main difference is that the Capellan stripped out all of the small lasers and replaced the right arm small with a large laser, and each side torso gets a single medium laser each. Still a particularly small amount of firepower. In fact, it's less than that of a Phoenix Hawk, which itself has the same weapons and 2 machine guns, so the firepower is a little bit weak. That said, it's a 80-ton assault mech that can still run at a rather good speed, and it can scare the crap out of most mediums and lights that it would encounter. Within Battletech's rule system, they did have to remove about 4.5 ton of the armour, a significant amount of protection from the mech. So, yeah, in MWO that seems like a bit of a daunting prospect, but luckily in MWO, a few weight-saving measures such as light fusion engines and ferrofibrous and stuff can allow you to pretty much keep the mech at maximum armor and have this weapon loadout. Many of you would be considering why even bother. It's got a minimum of 5 hardpoints and now you're only using 3 of them. So could I recommend the Charger-1L? It's difficult to say would you recommend the Charger. It's one of those, it's an interesting assault mech because by default it comes with such a fast engine, and an 80-tonner that runs at this speed is kind of daunting. I don't think many players really expect an assault mech to come around the corner at that kind of speed and still boat a decent amount of energy weaponry. Its damage obviously can't really stack up to some of the assault mechs out there, especially certain DACA builds and the like. So it sits in an unusual but pretty unique niche in my opinion in MechWarrior Online. Of course, there are other assault mechs in the same weight category that can reach the same speed. Of course, you can reach the same speed with any of the mechs if they have the right engine rating. Sort of, I believe, I think it's the Hero or one of the awesome variants can reach pretty similar speeds to this. But yeah, it's an unusual one. I've always liked the Charger mainly because of its unique status within Battletech as basically being a failed assault mech. It was a project that didn't really go very far, and although they were produced, they weren't particularly popular. The idea of a scout assault mech is an interesting one, but obviously the sacrifices that have to be made to keep the mech working is one of the big drawbacks of the design, where most people will just use, you know, scout mechs. So, yeah. I've always enjoyed it though because of its unique layout. The 5 smalls are just blindingly fun to use, and I quite like this build actually. It's very heat efficient. You can still do an alright amount of damage, and with the skills set up for recharge on the cooldown and the recharge on the weapons, the laser duration being reduced, you can do a fair amount of damage with this pretty quickly. And the key thing is that you can reposition fairly fast. It's still got a decent amount of armor, and the hitboxes aren't too bad on the Charger, so it's a mech that is worth having a look at for custom builds. I would have to say it's definitely a good one for that. But I would also say if you were going to get a Charger, keep the speed if you can, because that's its selling point. It's its USP. Otherwise, just use your C-builds for a tankier assault mech if that's what you really want to go for. So, yeah, I do like this Liao version. I like the little bit of history behind this one, the fact that, it was a stopgap, it was desperately needed replacement, and Liao did the best that they could with what they were given, and that's pretty much Liao's sort of write-up in the 3025s. It was a faction that was under siege, under threat constantly, desperate for resources, and out of that desperation came numerous interesting builds and entirely new mechs, Liao are responsible for creating things like the Raven, bringing back ECM technology, and being able to create things like the Cataphract. I mean, even unofficially, they were the original, supposedly the original creators of the Mauler, for instance, but I think that's not really canonical. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting little design. I quite like it. The Hellspawn at the end here, trying to trying to rotate around me. You can't do that against the Charger; it's too fast. Being able to counter turn. And the last guy was an Annihilator that the other team liked. It's quite a frenetic match. I quite like this one, and I quite like this build. So thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoy that. I hope you have a good week. And thanks for joining me for this brief period of this evening. I hope you have a good day. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye.